Welcome back to another edition of the Gabagools podcast. I'm your host, Jeff. Last but not least, we're hitting wide receivers on this show. We're going to keep it short and sweet. This class is not elite for wide receivers. It's going to have some very good ones, maybe even great ones. We'll run through them pretty quickly. Not a lot to say, but leading off, we have Travis Hunter out of Colorado. Is he going to play wide receiver? Is he going to play corner? Is he going to be forced to choose? I think he will play both. I think he's going to be the number two in the draft. I think if the Browns get him, hopefully he changes that franchise around just based off of his ability. He was a solid wide receiver. I mean, some of his routes were kind of but he won the Heisman for a reason. He is solid. He does put up decent numbers, even when he, I don't want to say he did anything wrong, but he's a good wide receiver. His pro day was kind of meh, like I said, but he showed he can play both ways on the ball. He's gonna be an early draft pick. I think if you play in those IDP leagues, he's your 1-2, if not 1-1, easily because you can play both sides of the ball. Shows good body control. You've seen him go up and get it. He's got great size. Obviously, being 6'1", 185, I think he could put on a little bit of weight. I think that's going to help him long term. Obviously, he learned from Dion, so it's going to help him too. Good hand-eye coordination, can change speed through routes, which is good. I think his speed is going to be the biggest thing for him, and he's going to need to make sure that 4.4 is going to be crisp when he's playing at the next level. And his durability, I mean, that's going to be the biggest question mark for Travis Hunter. But he's able to show, good route running, like I said. I think he's going to help whatever quarterback he goes to and just show that he could be that guy. The comps are really tough because he could be, I don't want to say AJ Green because he's a tough one to match up with. And he also plays both sides of the ball. I mean, if you're lucky, he ends up being Trayvon Diggs and then maybe OBJ, and that's a hell of a comp too. The problem is his route tree is limited, and it's probably because of the fact that he plays both sides of the ball. So he's not going to be out there as much, and it shows that he kind of loses focus. There's been multiple times on tape where if he sees a guy coming, he kind of flinches a little bit. But his blocking too. I know he's not going to be out there to block, but he needs to occasionally. And then obviously the size, it's going to hurt him a little bit. So immediate star. Gonna be your number 1-1 or 1-2 in your draft for fantasy, depending on where he goes. I think he goes to the Browns, like I said. They don't have a QB, so it's gonna hurt him. But I think easily Travis Hunter is your 1-2 in the draft. Next up, Tet McMillan out of Arizona. I think he's a stud. I think we're talking another Mike Evans, a little bit more athletic, kind of a mix between Mike Evans and Drake London. I haven't seen that comp out there yet, but just a mix of both. He's 6'4", 219, just elite wide receiver. And I think what you're going to see out of Tet is he's going to put in a lot of, hopefully he puts in a work. I mean, he did have that one. I saw a clip of him saying he really doesn't care for, or doesn't watch football. I think that's a problem. But you don't have to watch football to be good at it. I think he's an X receiver. I think power slot would be a perfect spot for him. So whatever team he lands on, whether it's Jacksonville, which that'd be sick. The Jets could use him. Absolutely need another wide receiver on his team, on that team. Great route running, can show he can go up and get those 50-50 balls, pretty fluid given his size. I actually did see him break a few like yards after contact too, that's good to see. I mean, with his size, I'd hope so. That being said, he doesn't have top speed. It's going to hurt him probably long term, but doesn't hurt Mike Evans. So I think if that's the worst thing that can have happen, he's definitely a wide receiver 1 in my book. Like I said, if he ends up being a Drake London or a Mike Evans, you're going to have a great career. But he'll be like my 1-4-ish, 1-3, 1-4 range, depending on landing spot. Next wide receiver I'm going to bring up is Luther Burden. He's gotten a lot of hate. Best comp is Debo just because of his size and kind of the overall mentality. I think I think he's dropping just based off of some metrics. I think that's a little bit of bullshit. He runs a 4.4 still which is solid. He can catch, can pretty much go out there and do anything he wants. Because he's a physical specimen. He played at Missouri, so he played in the SEC, didn't play with a great QB, which is a good start, honestly. Can create separation. He's explosive, natural hands, elite after the catch, pretty good deep ball still. I think he's a guy that's going to fall in your rookie draft as well. I think he ends up falling to the back end, maybe 1.8, 1.9. I think if you get him at 1.8, 1.9, you're going to be very happy. Because, granted, if you're picking at 1.8, 1.9 and you didn't trade anything, I think you're going to be happy to have a wide receiver there with that type of background and nice juice too. Like I said, his route tree though does need work. Wasn't really pressed a whole lot, so if he gets physical, that might be an issue. Speed is very good, but not elite, so that's just kind of picking and choosing here. Um, you know, apparently he gave up against that Alabama game, but I don't think we're going to be worrying about that. I think if he ends up on a decent squad and can kind of get people like put him in New England, that would be a nice spot for him. Give Drake May. I think that would be really solid, and he could be a nice wide receiver too on a team. His junior stats were out there for a reason, which he was incredible, I believe. Like when he was, early on, he was getting drafted really high. They were talking about him being a top 10 pick. I think just this past season really hurt him. His junior year, he put up 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns on a bad Missouri team. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with him. Matthew Golden out of Texas, 6 foot or just under 6 foot, I believe, 191. Solid player, ran a 4.29. These Texas guys are just so fast. It's amazing they won a national title. Very much like a John Menchie type player. A lot of hype behind him. Could fall into the first round. If he does, I think he's going to get overdrafted. I think we're talking Xavier Worthy territory, even though he had a decent season. Like I said, he's an absolute burner. Shows he can run a route tree, good hands, explosive playmaker, pretty good route runner. So corners are going to, struggle to cover him. I think he could be out on the special teams if need be, and he's just competitive after the catch too. So it's kind of what you want. But his frame's a little small. He does drop the ball occasionally. Got hurt a little bit he had foot surgery, so it's obviously why he got hurt in 2023. And then if he gets pressed, that might be an issue. But I think NFL teams, Packers need a wide receiver. I think he would fit in with that wide receiver room and kind of just be a guy there. It's because nobody really stands out. They just have too many weapons in Green Bay. And I think that's the problem. You just never know which one for fantasy. If he does fall in the first round, I think he's a back end one. It's one of those things where I think he falls in the first round and someone wants to take a risk on speed. I mean, Buffalo could use a wide receiver. Josh Allen, that'd be a nice pick for him. Can he play in the snow, though? That's going to be the big thing. Now, I think the steal of the draft, whoever gets him, whether it's the first round or early second, is Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State. I believe he's like the all-time leading receiver, and he's going to be a slot receiver out of Ohio State. Kind of reminds me of Jackson Smith-Njigba a little bit. Really, just he played with a championship pedigree. Pretty good speed, good route runner, good hands, sharp cuts. Pretty crisp against zone coverage, electric after the catch. So obviously that's what you want to see. On these deep balls, could help on special teams as well. So I mean, it all depends on where he ends up going. I think he would also be good with the Green Bay Packers. Steelers could use another wide receiver with Pickens and DK, even though that would be really problematic. But it's gonna be how his potential ultimately falls on how physical he could be at the next level. But I absolutely think he can do it. So hopefully he gets drafted in the first round and make us all happy. Maybe like a 1-6 in rookie drafts. Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. I think he's going to be one of those steals of the draft as well, just given his size. He's 6'4", 214. Reminds me very much of a Roma Dunze. Obviously he runs a 4.47, good speed right there off the rip. So good body control, good hands. Playing at Iowa State and playing in the Big Ten, it's pretty good. It seems like he can play an X, Z, or a slot position. It's good. He could, it means he's smart, can run a type of route. Good at finding spots in the coverage too. And like I said, he's got good hands, so you can obviously go out there and put up 5 and 100, 5 receptions, 100 yards, and a couple touchdowns. I think any team that gets him would be very happy with that. It'd be a perfect jet right there too. Needs a little work. Too many. He needs to start winning these contested catches for sure. Needs to maybe shorten his stride a little bit too, and I think he'll end up being a really nice player in the NFL. In the NFL. Next is his teammate, Jalen Noel, 5'10", 194, give or take. He runs a 4.39. It's solid. Kind of a Sky Moore, but hopefully better than Sky Moore. Maybe Marvin Mims. This is going to be a player that kind of goes in the late couple rounds. He's got pretty good footwork, pretty sharp. Routes are decent, but I think this is going to be a guy that people over value just based off his landing spot, and maybe it ends up being Oakland just because they need wide receivers pretty desperately. But he's got good speed, like I said, decent in zone coverages, so he'll blow by some of those. I think he'll be on special teams a lot too, but he does drop the ball quite a bit. His frame kind of small. If it's a physical corner, I think he's going to be eaten alive, but he could be a dangerous weapon for some team. Now, whoever gets him in the day 3, like probably a 4th round pick, he's good separator. I mean, like I said, if he gets by somebody, he's not going to have a problem getting open, especially with a QB. Maybe even like the Rams. The Rams could use a guy like him. That'd be a fun spot. Last one I'm going to name off is Trey Harris that I'm going to go into depth with. 6'2", 205 out of Ole Miss. Ole Miss just puts together some really good wide receivers, as we've seen in the past with DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. I think this is just another guy that just comes up and is getting slept on. Could be another Rome Odunze look-alike. Wasn't a huge star out of high school, but obviously transferred and made it or transformed himself at Ole Miss. He's good at catch point, good hands, good ball tracker. So obviously 3 things that make him a good player. Physical monster, which could make him similar to Mike Evans, not as tall, but if he's physical, can bring in the pass. That's what you need. I'm trying to think of a team that could use him too. I mean, maybe the Cowboys. The Cowboys would be a fun team for Trey Harris. He has the ability to go off against good teams too. He did well against LSU in the Peach or not Peach Bowl, but he had a good game against LSU, and then the Peach Bowl was against Penn State. So I think he's a dog. I think he'll be a good team, good player. Route tree needs to work. I think that's why he's going to fall in the draft. But I think he could be a nice X receiver on whatever team drafts him. If he can end up in maybe Baltimore or Green Bay, that would be really helpful for him as well. Like I said, he runs a 4.5, so he's not super quick, so that's going to hinder him a little bit, but he will move the change for you. Last couple players, just going to go through Isaiah Bond. Team might take a risk on him. He's pretty quick, good explosive. Jack Beck is kind of one of those receivers that reminds me of a Lad McConkey from last year, where you all of a sudden heard his name and he started shooting up the draft boards. I think that's a pretty decent comp. Just given that he was pretty good in catch space, good in the red zone. We'll see where he goes. I mean, he might go in like day 3, but if he's a gamer, I think he'll get drafted and he'll get open for you. So that's pretty much the wide receiver class. I know I'm missing quite a few names. Obviously, Savion Williams too could be really solid. He's 6'5", 4.48. So he'll make his name for himself. Tez Johnson really just kind of fell off the map out of Oregon. Xavier Restro will get drafted as well. Solid player. Obviously, we're gonna have to see where these guys land. I think that's where we're gonna end up getting a lot of our data from is where they fall. But that's the wide receiver class. Like I said, it's not a Malik Neighbors, no Jahmyr Chase. We're just gonna have to kind of see what the landing spots are and see what we like most. Baltimore loves taking wide receivers, even though they don't need one. So, all right, let me know what you think.